There's something noticeably different about people who were teenagers in the 1970s. Maybe it's how comfortable they are being alone with their own thoughts without feeling restless or anxious. Or maybe it's that solid sense of self that came from figuring out who they were without the internet constantly telling them. There's a reason this generation moves through life the way it does, and it has nothing to do with luck. Being a teenager in that decade shaped people into some of the most self-assured adults you'll ever meet. And it started with what freedom actually looked like back then. You're 17 years old, and you want a car. Not your parents' car, your own. So you get a job. You work summers at the gas station, the grocery store, fast food places. You work after school and on weekends. You save every dollar. And this wasn't unusual. By the late 1970s, nearly 60% of teenagers had jobs, and for boys, it was over 70%. Not for college savings, not for resumes, for one reason: to buy a car. Then one Saturday, you hand over $400 in cash for a used Dodge Dart with 80,000 miles on it. It burns oil, the radio barely works, the passenger door won't open from the inside. But it's yours. You earned it. And in that moment, something clicks. You realize you can make things happen for yourself. That car changes everything. Now you can go anywhere. Friday nights mean cruising Main Street with music blasting. Gas prices go up after the oil embargo, but it doesn't matter. You planned for this. You paid for this. Your parents say be home by midnight, and that's the agreement. What happens before then is up to you. No tracking apps, no location sharing, no check-in texts. Just you, the car, and the open road. You spend nights at the drive-in, the burger joint, parked by the lake. If plans change, you actually have to find your friends. You learn which places to check, how to read parking lots, how to understand the unwritten map of where everyone hangs out. You didn't have helicopter parents.
You had the opposite. Parents who expected you to figure it out. If you got hurt, you walked it off. Rub some dirt on it. Don't bleed on the carpet. By today's standards, it sounds harsh, but it created teenagers who believed they could handle things, who didn't expect to be rescued, who understood that effort led to results. You also learned to read social situations fast. You could spot your ex's car from across a lot and immediately know whether to stay or leave. You knew which hangouts were neutral and which belonged to certain groups. You could tell instantly whether a party was going to be fun or full of drama. And then there was the mall. In the 1970s, the mall wasn't just shopping. It was the center of teenage life. You met friends there, walked the food court, tried on clothes you had no intention of buying. And the arcade. The lights, the noise, Pac-Man, pinball, Space Invaders. A high score meant status. Tokens were currency. You learned who handled pressure well, who lost gracefully, who would lend you their last quarter. It was social training disguised as entertainment. Navigating teenage life without adults stepping in forced you to understand people. You learned to read intentions, tone, and unspoken dynamics. Researchers might call it advanced social cognition, but you were just trying to survive high school, and it made you perceptive in ways that constant monitoring doesn't. Dating required courage. You had to call her house on the family phone. Her dad might answer. You introduced yourself, waited while he decided whether to pass the phone or interrogate you. If you got past that, there were rules. No late calls, short conversations, one shared phone line. If her sibling listened in, that was just part of it. If she said yes, you showed up at the door. You didn't hunk, you rang the bell, talked to her parents, then left together.
Friday nights meant the drive-in. Speakers hooked to windows, popcorn smells drifting through rows of cars, ushers walking around with flashlights. Some parents even quizzed their kids afterward to make sure they actually watched the movie. When relationships became serious, there were rituals. Class rings wrapped in yarn, Letterman jackets, ID bracelets, public symbols that everyone understood. And when breakups happened, those items were returned, quietly, often through friends. No online status changes, no public posts, just an ending you had to face. This taught you that relationships required presence, effort, and accountability. Love meant showing up, literally, at the door, with a plan, enough gas money, and respect. After school, many teenagers went straight to work. Record stores, pizza places, gas stations. You clocked in, dealt with customers, handled money, closed up. Your boss wasn't your parents' friend. This was real responsibility. When problems happened, you handled them. You didn't call home to fix things. That self-reliance became part of who you were. And on nights when there were no plans, you called friends on the landline, hoped their parents didn't answer, stretched the phone cord across the house until someone yelled at you. Sometimes no one had plans, and that was fine. You drove around, sat at diners for hours, talked in parked cars until late. No one rushed to entertain you. You learned that empty time wasn't a problem. You sat with boredom, and in that space, you figured yourself out. This carried into adulthood. You learned how to sit without distraction, how to exist without constant updates. Studies now show that teenagers who experienced unstructured social time developed stronger identities and emotional regulation later in life. Then there were the basement parties, the kind that felt half hidden from the world. Music blasting too loud through cheap speakers, rooms packed tighter than they should have been, the air heavy with cigarette smoke and excitement.
No phones raised in the air, no one documenting who was there or what happened. What happened stayed there. Sometimes the night went perfectly, sometimes it didn't. Someone drank more than they could handle, someone said the wrong thing, an old tension surfaced. And in those moments, there was no adult stepping in, no group chat to retreat into, no digital distraction to dissolve the discomfort. You had to read the room. You had to sense when the energy shifted. You learned when to stay and smooth things over, when to pull someone aside, and when it was time to quietly grab your jacket and leave. That wasn't recklessness. It was real-time social learning. You developed an internal compass for situations that felt right versus situations that were about to go wrong. Those nights taught you limits in a way no rule book ever could. You learned how far was too far because you felt the consequences, not because someone warned you in advance. You learned how to look out for other people, how to de-escalate without making a scene, how to protect yourself without needing permission. While it may look chaotic in hindsight, those moments were shaping judgment, awareness, and responsibility in ways that stuck. And then there were the opposite nights, the quiet ones. The door closed, the world shut out, your bedroom becoming its own universe. Posters covered the walls, each one chosen carefully, not just because you liked the band, but because it said something about who you were trying to become. Your records were stacked and organized, not randomly, but with intention. Music wasn't something playing in the background while you scrolled. It demanded attention. You saved for albums, sometimes for weeks. You studied the cover art, unfolded the sleeves, read every liner note while the needle traced its slow path through the grooves. You didn't skip songs. You stayed with the entire album, start to finish.
40 minutes at a time, fully present. Music wasn't just entertainment. It was identity. It gave language to feelings you couldn't quite name yet. It made you feel understood when you didn't know how to explain yourself. And being alone in that space didn't feel empty. It felt private, safe. You wrote things in journals you never planned to show anyone. You thought about who you were, who you weren't, and who you might become. You learned that being alone didn't mean being abandoned. It meant having room to hear yourself think. That's where you discovered something important. Your thoughts weren't dangerous. Silence didn't mean something was wrong. You could sit with yourself and survive it. Privacy wasn't isolation, it was formation. You learned, long before it became a talking point, that solitude and loneliness were not the same thing. Heartbreak arrived too, because it always does. Not the kind you brush off in a week, but the kind that feels like the floor dropped out from under you. And there was no immediate escape hatch. No posts, no comments, no instant validation. You couldn't perform your pain for an audience or distract yourself with endless messages. You felt it, fully. You lay on the floor listening to the same song on repeat. You drove late at night with the windows down. You wrote letters you never sent. And slowly, without anyone announcing it, the pain loosened its grip. You learned something powerful in those moments, that emotions can hurt deeply without destroying you. That pain passes, even when it feels permanent. Waiting shaped everything. Waiting for the phone to ring, waiting to hear if someone liked you back.
Waiting weeks, sometimes months, for a concert you already had tickets for. Waiting by the radio, finger hovering over the record button, hoping the DJ wouldn't talk over the intro. When you finally captured the song cleanly, no interruptions, no static, It felt like a victory. Those weights taught patience in a way nothing else could. They taught you that anticipation wasn't an inconvenience, it was part of the experience. The things you waited for mattered more because you waited. Failure showed up too, often quietly. You didn't make the team. You didn't get invited. You bombed something that mattered to you. It hurt. It embarrassed you. But there was no permanent digital record following you around. No replay. No pile-on. You felt it, adjusted, and kept going. You learned that failure wasn't a verdict on who you were. It was information, something to learn from, not something to become. Friendships demanded skill because everything happened face-to-face. You learned to read expressions instead of profiles. You noticed pauses, tone shifts, and silences. You understood loyalty not through posts or tags, but through actions. You learned who could be trusted, who would disappear when things got uncomfortable, and who would stand by you without needing to announce it. You learned when to fight for a friendship and when to let it fade naturally. Depth mattered more than numbers. Connection mattered more than visibility. All of it, the noise and the quiet, the joy and the discomfort, was shaping something solid underneath. A way of moving through the world with awareness, a sense of self that didn't need constant reflection from others to feel real. And now, looking back, many realize something. Those years of privacy, freedom, mistakes, and quiet growth created an unshakable sense of self. You didn't need an audience to become who you were. And in a world defined by constant visibility, that may be the greatest gift the 1970s gave its teenagers. Did you grow up in the 70s or know someone who did? What do you think about how their experiences shaped their mindset? Drop a comment below and let's talk about it.